Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the launch of LPB25, which is the London, Paris, Berlin multimodal creative AI accelerator. That is quite a mouthful, I'm afraid. So I think we'll call it LPB25 from now on. I want to start straight away with just a few thank yous. The two really big ones that I want to cover off is Vultr, who you'll be hearing from later. You know, this wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for them. They've been really big helpers. And actually, even beyond this particular event, Vultr have really been a big supporter of our whole events program in London. So we run London PyTalk meetup, and we run AI engineering, so we run lots of different events with Vultr. So thanks to Kasia for that. And also, we want to thank British Land for giving us access to this place. It's a great space. And I've got Mistral here who's just going to give a few guidelines in case there are any farts or anything like that, and just say a few words about the Impact Hub, which is the part of the British Land estate we're actually in. Over to you, Mistral.
Thank you. My name is Michelle. I am the Events and Partnerships Manager here at Impact Hub, and it's a pleasure to welcome you all to our space. A little bit about Impact Hub. We're big believers that impact does not happen in isolation, and it requires collaboration, innovation, and just very strong community. And that's exactly what we try to offer here, whether it's to our co-working memberships, the many events that we lead, or the programs that we have that are part of accelerators and helping our community. With that in mind, we have a series of different kind of entrepreneurs, and you're all more than welcome to come and test out the space. We are always giving away a half-a-day co-working membership if you want to just see how it is. It's an amazing community here, full of innovation. A little bit of housekeeping. In case that there's an emergency, I will need everybody to head out those doors. Please don't go into these doors, as everything will be locked. You can head out to those doors and then head to the left, and that's going to be the area where we can kind of wait until the building tells us whether it's okay to come back in or not. Thank you, and again, welcome to the space.
Right, so I think the most important thing about this afternoon is that everybody has fun. And this is your show, basically. Remember, it's HackXelerator, so we're here really to help you guys to create and build. And there'll be plenty of opportunity later on to break out and to start building your projects. And there's plenty of us around here to help. Should just mention that a couple of my colleagues from KXSB are here as primary helpers. George, in a few minutes, is going to say a little bit about what KXSB actually is. It's a platform to allow us to help you in this case. And then we've got some of the partners around here who are also going to help during the afternoon. Just to give a few words about what to expect. So straight after this little speak from me, George is going to do sort of a keynote, which is going to really talk a little bit about the domain and you know, the kind of excitement around the space, and also to talk about KXSB and the actual structure of the hackathon itself. So as I say, it's just the launch today. This particular initiative runs right through until the end of April, where we end up in Station F in Paris on the 25th of April for the showcasing and the prize giving. So first of all, George's section, I think after that we have a break around about 3:30, if I remember correctly. And then I'm going to be running a panel. We've got some great panelists from Central St Martin's and also from Mistral and from WPP and others. So we'll be talking about the domain. We'll have a nice panel discussion and give you plenty of opportunity to get involved in the Q&A for that. Then our various partners will be giving sort of speed talks about what they have to offer the hackathon, and there's quite a lot there. So there'll be Pinecone, Mistral, Luma, 12 Labs, and several others who will be able to tell what support they can give to the actual program. I think that's just about all I've got to say at the moment. I'm going to hand over to George to go through the keynote. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone. Just get my notes up because I might forget important things. Okay. So, good afternoon everyone. It's great to be in London. I love coming back here because I had the good fortune once to keep this city, to call this city my home for about 10 years. I made the mistake and I left. And so now I get to come back sometimes and enjoy it immensely. But also a great welcome to all our participants online that are watching on YouTube and following on Discord at this moment. You're a great community and super glad to have you part of this as well. I must say I'm actually genuinely surprised that we got as many of you in here today given the abnormal meteorological conditions outside. I thought that probably most of you would go to the park instead of coming here. But it's a testament to your commitment to innovation and creativity to see you here, so I'm really glad to see you. Why am I up here? We had a plan, and the plan originally was to get a really great keynote speaker. Truly interesting speaker. But unfortunately, he had to cancel at the last minute because of a family emergency. And so I was saying to the guys, what are we going to do? And they said, well, you have to do it. And I said, well, do I have to do it? I'm just a dev. And they told me, look, it's multimodal. So here we go. Looking around the room and also the participants around the globe that we have online, I'm honestly humbled by the talent that we have assembled. We have artists, we have musicians, filmmakers, designers, scientists. Each one of you brings a unique perspective that makes this community special. And of course, there's one reason that we've all come together here, which is AI. Now, I think AI gives us new possibilities to break down traditional boundaries between disciplines. So historically, we've had these distinct silos, these tracks like computer science, art, music, or film, and so on. And we've all worked with very distinct tools. Each domain required years of training in order to master the tools. But AI, I think, is beginning to change that and can act as a bridge between disciplines. It can allow musicians, for example, to go and create compelling visuals without learning the whole Adobe suite, or it can conversely allow visual artists to generate some sound with their art that doesn't require them to spend years on music theory. And my favorite discipline of all, for some of those that have been observing what I do, is of course vibe coding. We can all generate code now that works, right? At least some of the time. But in seriousness, I think we'll get better to harness AI capabilities in what we create, and we can take on much more ambitious and interdisciplinary projects that would have been unachievable without these methods. The technical barriers, I think, are lowering, and that doesn't diminish, in my opinion, the importance of the craft and dedication. Rather, it amplifies what passionate creators can accomplish. This democratization is perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of AI. It accelerates learning, rapid experimentation. It allows us all to focus more on the creative vision rather than, to some degree, the tedious and hurdles of technical execution. And that's where you come in. I mean, we're gathering these boundary pushers, these status quo challengers here, and I'm really excited with we'll be able to do in the next 20 days. You know, I think we can redefine what's possible. So let me talk a little bit about London, Paris, Berlin 25 and how this works. So we call this a HackXelerator, and so today is the kickoff. You know, we picked 3 cities in Europe that you know, we hope would have lots of people interested in this sort of thing. But we're also online, so never forget, we're streaming this live to an online audience as well. And the Discord is central to what we're doing. So if you're not on that, I would urge you to join on Discord, because it's essential to participate. The team formation, you know, the project registration, etc., all that takes place on the Discord server. We picked it because it's a suitable platform to do that without us having to invent too many things that it doesn't have from the start. But it's kind of key. So hands up, how many people are on the KXSB Discord? Oh wow, this is the hardcore. Okay, so for the 3 or so that haven't made the way yet, I'm sure the person next to you so can help you to accomplish this. But it's going to be central doing over the next 20 days. Speaking of teams, when forming your collaborations, please remember the team isn't limited to the people that are in the room. I keep stressing this, but there's also really interesting people who are participating remote, especially from the other cities like Paris and Berlin as well. But we have, I think, people from all over the globe. We also have some participants from Asia, from the US. It's definitely global in you know, not inconsiderable way. So as today is the kickoff, you have 20 days to work on your projects, and it will culminate in a grand finale on the 25th in, somebody told me on Discord earlier today, a smaller city with a river, in Paris. And so there is another important date, so it'll be at Station F in Paris. But already on Tuesday the 22nd, by midnight on Tuesday the 22nd, we want you to submit the status of your project so that we can consider it in our judging panel, because as some of you may have heard, there are some prizes that we're giving away to the best efforts in this accelerator. And you know, therefore, midnight 22nd is the deadline. When you submit, so one of the things that we've decided to do is we don't really force any technology or any platform that you use to collaborate. Okay. Because we want to have complete freedom for you guys to work. But please submit something that we can assess, so whether it's a document or a video or a demo, something that can be easily consumed, because those guys that will come with a vast Git repository with stuff that doesn't compile, your chances are probably low, even though there may be brilliance in there. There's only so much we can have a look at in the time that we got. So that's the Paris leg, but it doesn't end there. We go beyond Paris. In May, we have an official London, Paris, Berlin after party. Guess where it is? Berlin, yeah, that's right. And so we showcase again the winning contributions and celebrate everyone's achievements in Berlin. So that's the process in a nutshell. We will have a range of supports to offer as well, and we have presentations from the different sponsors that primarily offer capabilities for you guys to build hopefully considerable projects without having to spend money to do so. So we're very thankful for that, and we'll go into detail in those presentations around what's on offer. I want to talk a little bit about KXSB, because some of you probably wonder what is this thing. It kind of seems to add to the AI AI is bad at naming stuff, like, things like ChatGPT or KXSB. It's not good naming conventions, but I can give you some history on how we ended up with this. So it started about a little bit more than a year ago that the three friends were on a video call and were discussing the idea of creating a sandbox to play around with and experiment with AI technologies. And so the name originally stood for King's Cross Sandbox, KXSB. And so reflecting both our London roots in that regard and the commitment to provide space for creative experimentation. But KXSB has grown into something more than that initial concept. So at our core, we believe that making powerful creation tools and know-how accessible to the largest group of people possible. And so that's not, we don't want a future where just a handful of mega corporations decide, what our tastes should be or, what we can access and what we cannot. So our mission is to enable passionate people to go out and build stuff. We see AI as an equalizer, a technology that enables creation outside traditional funding mechanisms, which have controlled both art and technology through different but equally restrictive pathways. And we aim to simply provide access and guidance around AI technology and enable as many projects as possible to go as far as possible and support them as much as we can. So our mission is to enable passionate people to build, regardless of whether their dreams have commercial merit or meet the mainstream taste. And we want to be proponents of diversity in an increasingly homogenized world of technology. But KXSB is first and foremost a community. We're not for profit. We belong to the community. And we created this as a home for builders and creators, and we're committed to support you in any way we can. This mission would not be possible without our sponsors. So again, shout out to Vultr, to AMD, Hugging Face, Pinecone, Luma AI, and 12 Labs, who share our vision and who are providing valuable resources to help you guys succeed. So, what are we hoping to achieve with London, Paris, Berlin 25? Today is all about ideation and team formation, right? Get inspired, connect with potential collaborators, start sketching out projects, basically the goal is to get the show on the road. Over the next 20 days, we want to build and crucially help each other as a community. And so the hack in HackXelerator is the collaborative hackathon spirit. And the accelerator represents the sustained support and resources of an accelerator program. And for some of you, I hope that what gets started in the next 20 days doesn't end in Paris, but has a life beyond that. And so, we'll want you to contribute to 6 mission categories, which we picked without thinking very long about them, so hopefully they're inspiring. It's music and sound, it's visual art, video and film, gaming, fashion, and multimodal. Multimodal is personally my favorite one because it can fit everything, so long as you mix two, right? Or more. We also have category prizes. So in each of these 6 categories, we have prizes. There is cash awards for the teams, $1,500 for the winning teams, $1,000 for the runner-ups. AMD is contributing GPUs for the winning teams. Vultr credits, Mistral credits, and we also have prizes from 12 Labs and from Luma. So there's plenty of loot to go around for those that lead their categories. But beyond the prizes, we also aim to provide support during the 20-day period. So I alluded to it before, there'll be technical resources that you can use. There'll be compute capacity. There'll be bare metal GPUs to use. and there'll be all sorts of other APIs that we make available to you. There'll be knowledge. We have workshops and clinic sessions on Discord to help you as good as we can where you may be stuck. And there is a degree of mentorship from both KXSB as well as our sponsor representatives to help you with the projects and to, set them up for hopefully lasting success. The judging criteria, reflects our values in that we'll be evaluating projects not just on the technical execution, but equally on the creative vision, on the artistic merit, the innovation, and the impact that they may potentially have. So we believe that brilliant artistic application of AI tools deserves the same recognition in this HackXelerator as technically complex implementation. We will pick also at least one project to continue to get dedicated mentorship and ongoing support from KXSB for at least the next year. So I think that kind of summarizes all the main takeaways I wanted to give you. Hopefully this helped complete the picture. And before moving on, I wanted to take the opportunity and give you guys a chance to do Q&A. And I'm probably going to trip up Phil, who's dealing with our live stream, by asking him if we can also take questions from online, if there are any. Okay. So Paul, maybe you want to come up on stage, and we can do our best to answer questions together. Do we have audience mics?
Should do.
Okay. Oh, we can share one mic if it's... Okay.
I've got a loud voice anyway.
Yeah, no, we need the mic because online.
Thank you. I'm jumping immediately to a technical question. Is there any licensing constraint that we should consider?
Okay, good question. So when by licensing, you mean like by what you create, does it have to have a certain license? So two things about that. The first one, the very simple answer is no. The more complex answer is you will obviously have to give it to us so we can judge it. Right? And the second part is, part of the ethos of KXSB is open source. So, we surely appreciate if there is at least an open source component to what you build, but we also respect if there are some things that you do not want to make part of that open source.
Michael.
Yes, I've got two questions. Is there a deadline on project proposals? So, kind of really all just kicked off today.
Okay, I this is a brilliant. You can throw it to the next person.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Shall I repeat the question?
No, I heard the first question, which is there a deadline for project proposals?
Right, can you propose more than one project?
Okay, this is a very good point. I'm glad you asked that. So there is no deadline for project proposals. Obviously, if you propose a project a day before the submission and then there is a lot of work, we'll probably not recognize that because it probably wasn't done as part of the... But, in general, you can start a project today or next week. That's fine. Right? So there's no deadline to create the project. There's only a deadline to submit for the judging. The second question was, can you make several projects? And so here, looking at a Discord, we want you to have as much freedom as possible. So you can create 20 projects if you want, right? In the end, when you create a project, there is a join button underneath where other people can join, right? And so whatever resonates with people, they may apply to join, and then you can accept them or not. And there's a thread under each project in the project channel in the Discord where you can discuss the project, right? And so you can have an open discussion around it. And then you can choose whatever you want to continue with or not, or maybe even somebody else picks up a project that you don't want to do, or, you know, so all this is possible. Just leave it there.
So I've put in a project proposal, but
Okay.
if I don't quite like what I've done, can
Yep.
I edit it? I
Yes.
didn't see any way of doing that.
There's only 2 slash commands, so it's simple. One is propose, the other one is project-manage. So /project-manage, and you can edit and approve members and, you know, change the status, and, you know, that's all there.
Anybody want to risk this? They are designed for that.
So I wonder what the internet heard there. Just 2 quick questions. Number 1, who are 12 Labs? I've never heard of them before.
They will have a session afterwards, so you will get an
Find out
introduction
from
to
them.
them. I won't steal their thunder.
Cool. And the second question is about kind of comfy UI. And I'm just wondering, by a show of hands, does anyone know what that is? And do they use it? Yeah. Sweet.
So,
that sounds good.
We're in touch with Yoland at Comfy, and
Yeah.
they support this effort.
Amazing.
We're too busy to have some direct involvement this time, but they're aware of it, and we're aware of them, so we're connected.
That's amazing. Have you ever heard of Comfy Deploy?
Yes, I have.
Really, really handy for like all of
Yep.
this stuff. Anyway, cool. Thank you.
Is anyone looking for jobs? because I maybe have some good tips. Yeah.
Okay, great.
We know who to come to,
I-
right?
You should, what's your Discord handle, or how can people reach you? Okay, all right, if you write it on Discord, I'm sure you'll be inundated. 'Cause hackathons are
Any
traditionally
offers?
the domain of the unemployed.
So my idea was around dance and AI. I didn't see a category for that, like for performance art. What
Okay.
would be what category should I enter that?
That's a good question. So off the cuff, I would say you could do it in video and film, because you have motion and you have AI, right? So, but the dance you may not film, but you may record it with motion sensors or something else. So we can talk about it offline, but it's very welcome. I would either put it in you know what? You could even, because music is involved in dance, you could go in audio, you might be able to go into multimodal. Here's a tip, maybe you can game it a little, you know, look at how many categories have how many projects. You may want to pick a project for yourself that is less busy, and you get the hint, right?
Yeah, nobody should feel too constrained by the categories.
Yes.
You'll find a category that
You
you
know,
can go into.
we wanted to inspire people. You know, whether you build a technical tool that helps with doing something in a category, or whether you create like an AI created movie or so, you know, and anything between, it's wide open.
You wanted me to throw it, didn't you?
Thank you. Just considering that the winner might have the chance to continue afterwards for several months,
Yep.
do you have any constraint about how mature the technology has to be in order for you to really consider it? Like, can it be something that is at very early stages, maybe in a preview, and so it can break in the next couple of months? Or
Yeah,
it has to be...
I mean, our interests are about how innovative, how sort of thought-provoking, how, you know, unique is something, more so than how commercially viable or so is it, right? So that's what I had hoped to convey as good as I could before. This is, you know, yes, there will be some things that probably have great commercial applications, but that's not a requirement for us.
Eric.
just on the back of that, do we have, I hadn't seen kind of judging criteria or submission criteria, how
We do. So, I mean, the mission criteria, I hope, was clear, but happy to reiterate. The judging criteria, you know, it's along those lines as I indicated before, right? We'll look at two dimensions. One is technical and one is, you know, it's hard to put an exact creative label on it because creative is overused to some degree, but you know, the artistic value and, you know, the uniqueness or the, you know, the impact that it may have, something that's not purely on the technical side, right? And a project can be strong in one or the other and be a winning contender. It doesn't have to balance that perfectly, or, you know, we don't prefer one to the other, but we want at least one of these two to be expressed in a standout fashion.
So how do we submit that project? In what format?
Because so many, you know, this is so broad, right? I'm not going to say you're going to have to give me a GitHub link or you're going to have to send me a video or so, because it may not be appropriate. All I'm asking for is that is something that we can understand what you have done, you know, let's say in 10 minutes, right? Because if we have a lot of projects, you know, we cannot spend 2 days analyzing each, right? There's surely more depth than somebody can absorb in 10 minutes, but whether it's a presentation, a video, a document, a demo, whatever it is, right? If you can communicate it in 10 minutes, it's acceptable.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Do we have any online? No. Wait, you're looking on the Discord and on YouTube. Okay, all right. There's a chat on YouTube too. I think we're neglecting that possibly, but okay. How are we on time?
One more question.
Hi, thank you for the good presentation. Do we have to necessarily form a team, or can you hack solo as well?
You can do it solo. There's no rule against that. I would encourage you to form a team because it's, you know, often enriching, but there is no rule against going solo.
Okay.
Okay, these were good questions, by the way. There's lots of things we haven't even thought of, so even though it looks like I knew the answer to them.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, during the networking, do just reach out. I mean, if you're having any trouble getting on, and use this probably as the first opportunity. I mean, so many of you were already on the Discord channel, but anybody who's not on there and wants some guidance, then please just reach out during the next sort of bit of networking.
Yeah.
I think our next session is a panel discussion.
Yeah, we have to, I think, rearrange the furniture for that. So.
Yeah, well, we've got I think that's at 4 o'clock.
There's a break.
Yeah, there's a break. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yep. So there's a reasonable length of break now. I think until 4 o'clock when we have the panel discussion. So do use this period to start forming your teams. Try and meet people. Try and fill the gaps where if you've got a creative idea and you're looking for somebody who's technical, try and find those people and vice versa. Okay. Thank you very much. Is everybody sitting comfortably?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Good. Okay. So this is a panel discussion about AI and creativity. Before I introduce the panelists, or ask the panelists to introduce themselves, I'll just say a few words about myself from the artistic point of view. So I've got an alter ego on LinkedIn. So if anybody's interested in my artistic following, I'm Flux the Artist, and I've got quite a big profile. I've got quite a lot of followers on LinkedIn under that name, so I'm 2 people, and hopefully that gives me some excitement. So actually my artistic practice is that I've got a studio over in Hackney Wick. I'm a painter and I'm a digital artist. Anyway, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to each of the panelists to introduce themselves in about 2 minutes and just say a little bit about themselves like I've just done, the organisation they work for, and they're interested in this multimodal AI. So Nick, give your full details and introduce yourself and yeah, just tell people all about yourself. These chairs are very low.
Hi everyone. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And unfortunately, I'm not much of an artist. I'm not very good at painting and anything. But I'm a solutions architect at Mistral. So Mistral's one of the frontier AI labs based out of Europe. Our goal is to make AI widely usable, accessible, and configurable for developers, for businesses, for end users. And previous to this, I was a startup founder in sustainability, building APIs and that banks and financial institutions use to measure carbon emissions. And I did remember previously doing a lot of front-end websites and having to do a lot of stuff from scratch. A lot of the new AI technology that's come forward has made it much easier to create, and I think it's going to be an interesting conversation of what it's empowering and maybe some of the consequences and what might be a bit more difficult. But yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Perry Krug. I work for Pinecone. I run our solutions engineering team, so kind of pre-sales part of the account team, working with customers, helping them understand us and the ecosystem. Pinecone, for those of you that don't know, is what we call a vector database. It's really an infrastructure layer within AI and used for kind of serving data into AI and search applications. Vectors are quite a technical concept, but the really interesting thing is they are what machines, computers, systems use to understand data. And in the context of this environment, you can kind of cross the modes from text and imagery and video and audio, and the underlying representation, the underlying encoding from any kind of type of data can be represented as a vector, and then you can kind of relate those to each other. So you can have some text that is similar to or relates to an image vector, or you can have images that are related to video and audio, and all these things kind of intertwined, which makes, and many of our customers are building multimodal applications, makes this really interesting. So equally thank you to Paul and George and Les and the whole team for having us here.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm George Heiter. I'm thinking about my link to artistry, right? Because there's a number of things. So I'm actually originally from a tiny country called Luxembourg, that probably some of you have heard of. So when I was in Luxembourg, I lived there until I was about 21 years old. And so I actually, originally always had sort of two passions. One was on the technology side. I was the kid, building computers and playing with code. But also on the artistic side, I always was in bands and was making music early on. And so I actually decided to go to art school originally, and so spent 2 years there, and then decided that it'd probably be better to do computer science and AI. So at the time, AI in Europe only existed in Scotland for some reason. So I did an undergraduate degree in Scotland, and also spent some time in the US at University of Washington. Through that time, I always had my studio and was making music. Actually, some of the stuff is still online, but I won't tell you where. And so, then I had a career in corporates, mostly building services businesses, and eventually was at HP. And responsible for global account sales. I then switched back to creating things because sort of just doing deals kind of is creative in a way too. But wanted to be more hands-on, so I moved to San Francisco in 2012 and launched a software company, Data Biology, which was a platform to do large-scale biomedical analysis. One of our early big customers was here in the UK and was Genomics England, so the 100,000 Genome Project. And we worked with a number of pharma companies and other large projects in that space. I really enjoyed the software building part of it, so I was very close to the developers and loved to architect the platform with them that we were building. In a way, it was the more enjoyable part compared to closing deals with clients. And so after Data Biology, I ended up creating more companies. And so I got increasingly involved in coding myself again, which I hadn't done for 20 years. We just had a discussion about it earlier. And even now, I enjoy doing it because it's gotten so easy, right? So all the stuff I needed a team for before, you can now basically have AI fill in, right? If you know what you got to understand, I guess, a little bit how to build software, but what you needed to have like money for and find other willing and able people to get it done in any kind of acceptable time frame, you can now do by yourself, and I think that's a really exciting era to be in. So there's a long-winded, kind of creative technology link of my background.
No, but I think what George has just said is actually very inspirational. And I can testify that just give George an idea and 10 minutes later he's built something. So it's more a question of stopping you, really, isn't it, these days? Where I wanted to go next, I think go back to Nick. The term multimodal in AI, superficially, it seems very simple, but how do we define multimodal? Is there a single definition for multimodal? Or let's start with the Mistral definition. What does multimodal mean in your eyes?
Yeah, sure thing. I might butcher this definition on behalf of Mistral, but multimodality is, traditionally when I was studying at university AI, we typically had models that were individually for certain modalities, so type of structure of information coming in, whether that's text or images or audio. Back then, I was really focused on CNNs, convolutional neural networks. It was a type of model that could take in typically images, but it could work with other things, and try to identify patterns and structures in them. And I was amazed when I joined Mistral this summer. They just opened up the UK office in the go-to-market part. They took transformers that were traditionally text to text and suddenly started to add small pieces called encoders that suddenly gave these model eyes. Now we see audio, which is a small component that gives it ears, and starting to add these different senses that us as humans have and transforming into models, and it's quite an extraordinary thing. But I guess multimodality is, right now I'm explaining more of the inputs, but it's just the inputs and the outputs, and multimodal means you can take different potential inputs and different formats of potential outputs, I suppose.
Perry, I guess this whole multimodal thing is quite a big thing for Pinecone, right? You're somehow linking up the modes and things like that. How would you define multimodal?
What he said was pretty good. And yeah, maybe I'm just going to paraphrase or repeat, so I apologize for that. But when we think of vectors, vectors are our kind of unit of record. It's our row in a database. Except for us, it's it's not a JSON document. It's not a SQL table. It's a vector, and a vector is this long string of numbers, this long array of numbers, where each number, each element of the array represents some characteristic of what that array represents. And so if we take an image and you have a vector, the vector is 1,000, maybe 2,000, maybe even 3,000 elements long, and each one of those represents something about the data that came in, right? And so a picture of a cat very simply, very, very hand-wavy, right? And one of the numbers could be how animal-like is the picture, or how green is it, or how orange is it, or does it have lots of legs or few legs, or think about you as individuals. If you were asked to describe something and you said, here's a thousand slots to fill in what the description is of this thing, right, this piece of data, you would have descriptions. And that's basically what a vector is. And creating vectors are models that know how to take some input and create a encoding, or create a representation, create a numerical value, a string of numerical values from it. And so, okay, an image to a vector is one thing, and when you have multiple images and they have similarities amongst them, let's say you have some cat images and some dog images, parts of each of their vectors will be related because they're both animals, and parts of those vectors, those numbers will be different because one is cat and one is dog, right? But you take it a step further, and as Nick was saying, now CNNs and transformer models are able to understand and are able to, I guess, think about able to write out those characteristics for different modes of data coming in. And so if you have a paragraph of text that talks about a cat, the vector, the numerical representation of that paragraph of text is going to be similar in numerical values to an image of a cat, right? And so now we can have two vectors where we don't know where they come from. One came from an image, one came from text, and we can say these two are similar. And so when you ask another question and you say, give me some data about cats, that might be coming in text form. Let's make it interesting. That might be coming in audio form, right? I'm asking a model to give me some data about cats, right? And so it has to understand the words that I'm saying. A vector gets created from that as well. And the values in that vector are going to be close to the same values that were for the cat text and the image text. And now we've just spanned three different modes, right? Audio, image, and text. But it's vectors underneath that is what links all of that together. And so we, as a database, we rely on the model to know what to do, to know how to process text, how to process audio, how to process images, such that they mean something when it comes out the other end, and then you put those in Pinecone and you can search off of that. Was that too long?
That's good, but Darla, your timing was perfect because you wouldn't have wanted to answer that question.
Way over my head.
Sorry to put you right on the spot, but can you do your 2-minute?
Of course I can. Okay, so I'm the person that's just run up the road from the Impact Hub in King's Cross, but I'm here now. So I'm Darla Gilroy. I am the co-founder of the Global Future Footwear Coalition. I am also the Associate Dean of Knowledge Exchange at Central St Martin's. My background is obviously fashion, but in my role at St Martin's, I'm working with a wide range of different disciplines, and I think my approach to AI is what it looks like in different disciplines and the kind of intersections between disciplines. But it's also about how it enables us to do things across the institution.
Yeah, and Darla's just saved my life because the next question, this lot wouldn't have been particularly good at, I don't think. We'll try. But first of all, we'll start with Darla because what I really want to do is sort of tackle the elephant in the room about AI. So I think, it's probably true to say in terms of creatives, 50% of creatives probably really hate AI and don't want to go anywhere near it, very worried about it, etc., etc. I think I'm preaching a little bit to the converted by virtue of the fact you're here. If you're creative, you probably are already starting to adopt that. Perhaps I could just ask the question, really, because I know Central St Martin's themselves think a lot about this. What would you say was the general temperature relating to AI? Where's it going?
That's an interesting question. I would say that creative universities like Central St Martin's, which is part of UAL, are convening spaces for innovation. So in terms of AI, there's a lot happening. There's a lot happening which is coming from the ground up from our students. There's a lot happening in terms of our creative practitioners who are very active and who bring knowledge into the institution. But in terms of culture, we are dinosaurs. We are slow to make change. And I think we are still quite divided between those who feel all technology and all progress is progress, and those that are much more critical about it. I think we have a critical responsibility and role to play, not only in how we embed AI in our curriculum, how we're designing designers of the future and training them and co-creating with them and with our partners, but also thinking about the responsible use of AI. We've done considerable work in things like sustainability. We have a global network of alumni. We have the power to spread information and ideas really quickly. And I think we have a responsibility, as I said, to think about how we use AI in a very kind of critical way.
Thanks, Donna. Fantastic. I will give you guys a bit of a chance on this particular question as well. So what would you say to creatives? I think this is a good question for Mistral because you're providing the tools for creatives to use. But what would you say to creatives to kind of reassure them that you're not really taking all their jobs, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, I can't speak on behalf of the company with this matter, but I think what Mistral has always stood for is empowering end users and individuals to have these tools as readily available as possible. And part of that has been our open source mission from the start. So we have a mix of commercial models, but our first model was this, it was a team of around 30 scientists this time a year and a half ago that released the first small model you could run on your laptop. And that's what we're almost the most famous for, is our 7 billion parameter model, is giving these tools to end users and having that locally put on your laptop so you have full control. So we've released a bunch of different models, multimodal, big ones, etc. But even our most recent model is completely open source, meaning that you can use it as an end user, have it on your laptop, adapt it. It's completely open and usable. And I think that's always been part of our mission, is making these tools as accessible as possible. And second of all, also thinking quite responsibly about how these tools are used, thinking about sustainability. I think being based out of Europe, my background's in sustainability before this, and one thing that appealed very much to me was the thought about efficiency. So all our models are optimal to be as small as possible for their performance, so you can run them as smoothly as possible, and even on your own laptop if you'd want, instead of in the cloud. There's obviously a lot of things that still have to be solved, but I think, openness and thought about efficiency are two key things that were always part of the Mistral mission.
So over to George. So George, you're at a cocktail party in Silicon Valley, and you're trying to persuade a musician that they should perhaps take AI seriously. Would you do that, or?
Well, I think AI is, in many regards, just adding to the arsenal of expression, right? So yes, I can create a model that will mimic stuff that already exists, but I can also get a band down the road that can mimic stuff that already exists, or create variations on the theme. I think for like true, breaking true novel artistic ground, it still requires people, because models are ultimately trained on data that either existed or was generated for the purpose of training them, and they're not so easily coming up with something that is completely novel, right? And for me, art has always been about breaking new ground. I know art has many facets, and so that's not the same for everyone. But to try to sort of, getting really good at doing what somebody else has already done for me is performance, whereas art, I think should try and aim and provoke new thoughts, new feelings, new ground.
Yeah, I think I would also reflect that you don't have to take AI kind of out of the box, and I think that's perhaps the boring bit, the going into mid-journey, just prompting and taking the result. But you can play with it, and there's so many different things you can do. You can mix digital within real life. You can my favourite thing, I guess, is I love kind of subverting the AI, trying to get the AI to do what it doesn't want to do, and you know, the hallucinations and all of those sort of things are just great, and they're taking you into a kind of world that previously didn't exist. So I think there's a lot of scope there. Perry, have you got some thoughts on that?
Yeah, just taking a step back from it all, I take a quite optimistic view, and not that we are pessimistic, but I try to have a quite optimistic view of all of this. And I think the thing for me that AI is doing, I agree wholeheartedly that it is another tool in the arsenal, and it is not replacing wholesale. It is progress, it is technology, it is going to change things, it is going to have disruption. The car did that as well. And I think the thing about AI for me is the accessibility and the democratization of just about everything at this point. It's making every single person the potential to be creative in multimodalities, right? And you said in your keynote, right, being able to, I think you did, being able to create a representation of art that you might not have been trained in, right? And if you are a painter, to pair that with some audio or some sound, some music, vice versa, and up and down the spectrum. And you know, this is not it is a technology discussion. So you know, coding is code developers are not being replaced by AI. AI is making more developers. AI is making everybody from young to old, from all walks of life, for people that have never had a computer science background, giving them the ability to create applications, to create art, to create code. And so I think that's just really, really powerful, that it breaks down the barriers that used to be, you know, white, middle class, college educated people were the only ones that were able to enter into that world. And that's just simply not the case anymore.
Thanks, Perry. Sorry, Charlie, did you want to say more on that? I was just going to segue you in anyway, because I think the next subject is about education, and really, it feels to me that with AI, that people are accessing education almost kind of at the grassroots, but also, of course, institutions have to adapt as well. So on that point, over to you.
Yeah, we certainly do, and I think we're being very slow to do that. Across the sector. I think I'm probably a bit more cynical about the kind of positives around AI. I do agree that there are definitely positives around AI. I guess for me, it's more about, or maybe it's less about the products, and it's more about AI as a lens, and a lens for kind of reimagining creativity. I think that's where it becomes really interesting. And I think what it's doing, and we're certainly seeing evidence of that in terms of the sorts of course portfolios that we're developing, is we're seeing these really interesting spaces open up between sort of coders, creative designers, technologists, scientists, and that space simply did not exist before. So that's the bit that I think is really exciting for education. I think we've also had a very binary view as a society of what creativity is, that it's the domain of the artist. Actually, it's forcing us to reimagine and re-examine creative thinking and how it's applied. So that, for me, is the really exciting bit. Having said all that, as I said, universities were being quite slow to embed AI. We're struggling a lot with how to do that. It's still, I would say, amongst my colleagues, there's an element of this is cheating that we have to get over. So for us at the moment, all the jigsaw puzzles are up in the air. The pieces have been thrown up and they haven't fallen down to make a clear picture yet.
That's very helpful. Nick, on education, I see that, for example, at Mistral, and I think most of the big foundation models, I don't feel that they are offering much education directly to the users, but I feel like you know, there's a lot of vibe coders and the AI tinkerers and people like that. In other words, people are often accessing this themselves, or even doing quite short courses that are offered by third parties on LinkedIn and stuff like that. Is that a true perception, let's say?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think it's one of the spaces that's like of the fastest moving that we've seen. Even being in the space, my job is half of the time to be on client calls and supporting clients, and part of that is largely educational as well. and then the other half to do engineering, etc. But even for people within the space, it's hard to keep up constantly week on week when there's so many new iterations. I mean, I was previously doing engineering, and you can expect an engineering team to deliver something, a new button, a new website, week on week, month on month. We're in a place in which now there's scientific level breakthroughs happening month on month, and that's unseen. And so even people in this space have to constantly be educating. So I think it's something that we're very aware of. We have an AI chat interface that we have a student plan in. We see that students are a big proportion of AI chat usage, and I think some of this is also being instilled in how we do models and everything. In terms of education, it's growing so fast that we're trying to create more educational content. Even myself, I'm creating blog posts and everything. We're trying as a team to go in as many directions and support as much as possible, and we're aware that content is part of that, and trying to educate the market as fast as it's moving. But I think there are also challenges when it comes to that just because of the pace that it's going at. I think on the model side, what's maybe been an interesting observation in the last year is this chain of thought technique, which means that it used to be that with models, you ask them a question and they give you the answer. It seems that sometimes they perform better when they actually think through the problem and then they tell you the answer. And the only side benefit that I've maybe on a personal experience found to that is that you can start to see how the model is arriving at certain conclusions. And that might help on an educational level, but it might also help you spot if the model is going wrong in different places. If you suddenly tell that in the steps that it's taken, it made a mistake, then you can point that out, you can think through. So I think there's definitely a lot of work to be done, but I think there's a lot of thought going both into the educational aspect as well as how do you make it as open as possible how the model is reaching its conclusions.
George, I would say that you're kind of a tinkerer as far as learning is concerned. I don't know if it's the right term, but I've heard this term AI tinkerer. And I feel like that you're...
Don't take kindly to this.
I guess what I was going to ask is, somebody who kind of learns these things very quickly, what's your advice? How do you dip in and, you know, get to know these models?
Well, I mean, it's crazy in two ways, right? On the one hand, everything has been more accessible than it has ever been, right? You know, you find like a second-hand GPU. That's hard these days, but you have a modestly powerful computer, and you know, you go on a couple of Discords, and you know, you're on your way installing stuff and running it. And it's really not that hard. Like, you know, projects like Luma for LLMs, for example, make it super easy to run a whole range of models locally, like, you know, the Mistral 7B, for example. But then, you know, we talked about comfy UI before on the, you know, more the multimodal side, the artistic side, right? Not quite as easy, but still approachable, right? But then the flip side of this is the velocity of it all, right? Whenever you think you got the hang of something, or you think like, oh, I like this model because it does certain things for me that are useful, then you get tempted by 9 other ones that have been released in the meantime, right? And they work differently, you have different properties or whatever. And you know, that is just at the base layer of the model. Then you have all the stack that sits above of tooling, and you know, now that the agentic dimension comes in, you know, you need more than just a model in order to do things. And it's really hard to keep up. I mean, you know, if you have a job and a family and a life, you know, you have no chance, basically, I think. So, you know, but I don't want that to discourage anyone, but, you know, go out and experiment. I think it's important that people spend some time with this and educate themselves about the possibilities, because like many things, a lot of people have no first-hand experience, or they have used like ChatGTP and, you know, typed a question in it. But I think there's a lot more depth through the things that are available and that don't really cost any money. You can just, there's so much open source that's awesome and easy enough to use. You know, also, you know, there's other models than ChatGTP, like Le Chat is great, right? You know, Claude is great, right? Even though it's a bit stingy, but
you know, there's lots of stuff to try out.
Thanks, George. I think now's the point where I'm going to put you slightly on the spot and maybe to, ask you about, just to inspire the audience, maybe just one example, case study. I think, again, I'm going to come straight to Nick because, you know, you should be able to find some within, you know, interesting ways that people are using Mistral products in terms of case study.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a few. Interesting in the sense of creativity as well?
If you can make it creative as well, but if not, then, you know, I don't want to put you on the spot. Interesting in any way.
I think there's a variety. Ones that I might point to is the ones closest to me are, previous to this, I was working at a startup, a sustainability startup that was using AI to support carbon categorization from billions of transactions that users were sending to us. So using it for usages that might have a bigger impact or missions, so sustainability was one of them. I think in my day-to-day, I tend to work more on enterprise. And so it's not going to be very exciting ones maybe to the audience and stuff, RAG, chatbots, etc. There are some interesting, very interesting ones coming up. But I think other ones that we've seen is we hosted, I think it was 3 weeks of joining, because the UK office we recently opened up over summer. We hosted a Mistral hackathon, which is a multimodal hackathon, which was the first time that we were able to give eyes to some of the models and take images apart from text. And I think there was such creativity that some of the projects had. We hadn't necessarily pictured that people came in and then were like, yeah, a video is just a sequence of pictures. And we hadn't really pieced that together, and suddenly people were using video in image models and using it for exciting use cases of detecting when natural disasters were going on, looking at, I think, UK Parliament, and they were taking audio and text because it was live streamed, and all these really creative ideas that we hadn't thought of, and we're pretty much crashing our API because we were expecting image at a time, and they were just sending tons of images with every single frame of the video constantly. So I think there's, yeah, as a foundational model provider, it's super interesting, and the scientists work a ton of the models and bringing these capabilities. The most exciting stuff happened from the builders and the users of those models. And I think that's what excites us the most, is going to hackathons, going to clients, and seeing what people actually use this for is really remarkable. But I think that's the closest, was in some of the hackathons. I think people get really creative. Apart from that, in the day-to-day, a lot of typical enterprise use cases that you might expect. But yeah, I think that's the one to share.
Well, where Dala works, I think the problem is the opposite. You've got those kind of hyper-creative people at Central St. Martin's. Every time I go there, I see somebody trying to make ice cream out of plastic, was one. Everybody tries to make everything out of algae, as far as I can see at Central St. Martin's. But have you seen at least some intersection between that kind of crazy creativity and AI? And if you haven't seen it from the students, are you seeing some examples yourself that you'd like to do?
Yes, I think yes to both those questions. I think in terms of what the students are doing, we're quite active in spaces like wellbeing. So we've seen a lot of students working with outside partners using AI in the wellbeing space. We also, every year, have a big event called the Digital Innovation Season, where we showcase digital innovations. Last year, we did a whole season about AI. One of the things that came out of that was an amazing video essay called The Wizard of AI, which I would recommend you watch, just in terms of a kind of critical but interesting view of how AI, how technology and creativity and creatives come together. In terms of my sort of personal view, I'm still working on a project which I told Paul about a while ago. There's a company called In the Room who make avatars, and I'm working to bring my mother, who's no longer with us, back to life through a digital archive. And I'm really interested. We're seeing lots of work at Central St. Martin's about how AI can be used for archiving skills and training.
That's fantastic. Perry, you're working with L'Oreal. I'm not sure how much you're allowed to say. Would that be a use case of yours, or?
I won't comment on my specific customer, but we will be having L'Oreal talk at part of this event.
Exactly.
But just to pick up on what Darla said, one of the things that I was going to add to this was exactly that, and we're seeing lots of our customers do kind of a range of different activities in this archival or digital persona. Some of them are quite commercial, where you have instead of bringing on new employees and having them read through the docs or have them sit in a room for a 3-day onboarding session, you're giving them a persona, an AI, and I've seen ones that literally simulate a phone call, and you're calling them, and they're acting as the CTO of one of your clients, or they're acting as the lead engineer on a project, and you're able to train yourself against that or with that, so that when you do get on a real call from a client-facing persona, or even internal activities, learning about compliance and activities that you need to be skilled in order to handle live in the moment, how do you practice those in a low risk but also highly kind of rewarding situation? And a lot of this AI persona is coming out there. On the other end of the spectrum, we have customers that are building digital friends that you can have relationships with, some plutonic and some not, but using like how do you store the characteristics of a digital persona, and how do you update that, and how do you create different ones, and that kind of comes down to what you store in the database that you're able to give them at the time. So I just thought it was a really interesting overlap from what we're seeing, and the idea of archiving skills and then being able to turn around and teach them back to the world. There was just you might know it, but I think it was Claude that just released something, Anthropic just released something this week about turning the model around, and rather than telling someone the answer, it helps them learn the answer. And I haven't read much about it. I saw a headline and thought, oh, that's kind of cool. But like specifically for education scenarios, and you could see the same. Now those two kind of merge together. Where here's a data set, here's a skill set, here's a way of purveying information. Don't just tell them the answer. Help them get there themselves.
I just know that moderators are going to be replaced by avatars in the very near future, I think. Anyway, at that point, I'm very conscious of the time contract, and I do want you guys to have plenty of opportunity to ask questions of the panel. I'm going to be a bit more brutal with the cubes there, so watch out, I'll be throwing them in your direction. So anybody got a question?
Thank you. Thank you. So at the beginning, Mistral and Pinecone, you were mentioning this embedding, so that we have an object, for example this one, and you describe with one number the color, the other number the shape, the third number is the number of corners. And so you would like to identify objects that are similar to this. What I would like to ask about is the difference between similarity and relevance. So these models, when they embed them, then they say, this is very similar to a toy of, yes. Is it relevant? And so my question is there a difference at this moment? Is there a gap between the models understanding similarity and relevance, and which direction it is going?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll speak. I know about this more from a very a less exciting creative enterprise setting in which we constantly have a huge document store, and there might be similar things that come up. One that comes up is if you ask, what is the business climate? And climate can be interpreted as sustainability, is the weather, is there current consensus? And so there might be things that are similar, but aren't relevant to what you're saying. And so there's typical, as mentioned, that what's really interesting about these embeddings, it tries to compress the meaning of a piece of information into what it thinks is similar. But there are ways that you can then, for example, fine-tune these embeddings so you make it more relevant to what you want. So you say, this is similar, but why is it similar? It's similar in the sense of finance. It's similar in the sense of my artistic style. To be honest, maybe on a creativity perspective, one thing I've personally always wondered is if these embeddings, if a picture says 1,000 words, an embedding is in a small, discrete amount of information able to kind of describe that. But the meaning that's extracted is pretty relative. And so I think it would be really interesting if people start playing with these embeddings and start fine-tuning them and saying, okay, this image, you can say it means this, but actually it should mean more of this in terms of what I think is relevant or more similar. So I think, yeah, right now, most people have looked at it more on similarity, but it's going to be interesting if people start changing what relevance and what's important out of the information that you extract. Maybe that's not super clear, but I think it's been very much about similarity. I think we're starting to think more and more about relevance as well.
Sorry, may I?
No, carry on, Perry.
Well, if you don't want me to, I won't. I agree with the last part of that, definitely, that similarity is a very mathematical, numerical thing. And this number is similar to that number based upon a calculation that happens, and there is a value that describes how similar those two are, and that value is going to be smaller for things that are similar and larger. Sorry, smaller for things that are not similar, larger for things that are, right? But relevance is much more subjective. And what we see is, yes, sometimes those overlap, and yes, sometimes similar is relevant enough or is good enough to be relevant, but actually it's an after phase of re-comparing what the question was with what the answers are, and then picking the most relevant or one or multiple out of that. Even though many might be considered similar, as we all said, they're not all relevant. You can only really determine relevance is after the fact by comparing both together. And so on a very kind of technical level, I'll try to be quick about it, right? Vector embeddings or embeddings get created with a what's the word? A single encoding, right? Input to output. But re-ranking, which is really about determining relevance, is what's called a cross encoder. And it takes both the input and it takes both the question and the answers to determine the relevance between them. And you can't do that in just similarity. You need something after that to determine.
Next question, please.
Got the box. So I'm following up on his question, which is very interesting. Sorry, yeah. So in my mind, relevance surely has to do with context primarily. So my question is, how would you find the right context in the vector space? Does it even exist?
Yeah, good question. I think similarity has quite a lot to do with context as well, and kind of how you determine whether something is similar is based in part on the context that it is in. And then we're going to use the same word in two different ways. The context of something being relevant is that second layer. And so, to your point with the word climate, if we're just matching the word, the character's climate, we're going to find only things that say climate in them. But if the question is about weather, you're also going to want some text or some content that has the word climate in it as well. Right, and so the context of where the word is, or all the words around it. I mean, that's really what transformers are, right? And what this entire last 10 years of innovation has been based on is the ability to look at a given piece of data in context of the data around it, right? And a word within its sentence, within its paragraph, within its document, within multiple layers around that, rather than just trying to match a specific exact kind of match of things. So there's context that imbues meaning, and two meanings can be similar, but then those become context for relevance when you match them up again, as I said, with the original kind of question. Does that make some sense?
So it's kind of in the second phase of, so you've got a match in the vector space and then you re-rank it, or?
Correct, yeah, you look first for similarity, people that have been building search systems for 50 years, think about kind of multi-stage retrieval. And in today's world, the first kind of stage of retrieval is, let's say, in my world, from vectors. That takes your possible options from a billion down to 1,000 or maybe 10,000, and then you want to reduce that even further, and that's the second stage of retrieval. So you apply kind of a different either algorithm or approach or whatever. You re-rank those based upon some other input, and you get down to maybe 100, or maybe you get down to the one that you're looking for. And there's multi-stage, 4-stage. Everybody, search systems have lots of different kind of reference architectures for doing that. But it's this idea of whatever technology you're using, of going from the largest possible set you have access to down to the smallest possible set, either in one step or multiple.
Thanks, Perry. Okay, I think we've got time for about 2 more questions. Let me stand up so I can see. Manny?
So this question is it's double packed. It's both for you, Nick, and I've forgotten your name. Yeah, sorry, it's for both of you. So the two interesting concepts or technologies, vectors and transformers, are actually the reason why we are all here talking about LLMs, and because why LLMs are here, right? We can say that to some extent. So what's the next level up? Because we're already reading about non-transformer based, I don't know the exact names, non-transformer based models. People are already doing research on it, and they're supposedly better than the transformer-based models, because there are a lot of problems with transformer-based models. It's another discussion on its own. So that's one. And at Mistral, are you seeing something like this? Are you discovering it? Are you trying to experiment with the non-transformer-based models? And the other question is, what's the next level up from vectors? Is vectors solving all the problems, or are people doing research on, because probably vectors have drawbacks as well, right? So are you at Pinecone also coming across people writing papers that are taking this thing the next level up? Not vector space, but some other space?
Can I just add to Manny's question a little bit there? Anyway, I shall continue. I'm not sure whether this is just everybody's worried about my technical competence or what, but what I was going to ask really was, Jan LeCun talks a lot about real-world models and things like that, and taking it down, that route. What do you guys think about, that, and how, I don't know, how might that reflect into the creative sphere? Because in many ways, LLMs are pretty good for a lot of creative stuff. Are real-world models going to be a step in the right direction? I'm just thinking perhaps about the physics of movement and stuff like that. George, go on, you try that one. Somebody else.
You want to take the model side?
Yeah, maybe on the model side, I think it's amazing to see so much scientific innovation, especially also very out in the open, which means that a lot of people can benefit. We've experimented with other types of models and released them openly as well. So we've done math-specific models. We've done ones with a Mamba architecture, which is slightly different from the traditional transformers architecture. We were one of the ones to popularize the mixture of experts. We weren't the inventors, but one of the popular ones. So you can expect that there will be experimentation with different types of architectures. What those are and which ones will be successful, I can't really say and comment on. I think that will be seen. But yeah, I think you can expect right now maybe nothing to change massively, but I think that the science team is working on a ton of really interesting models, and hopefully, yeah, there's some interesting models coming up soon. But yeah, I can't necessarily comment very much on the new ones. Just the Mamba one was one that we released, I think, last summer, which was a different architecture as well.
So the space is up for disruption as well, because I mean, just like we had DeepSeek coming in suddenly and flatten the market, we'll have someone come with a non-transformer model, and then we have the next set of competition. Right?
I mean, what was interesting, maybe just a tiny one on DeepSeek, it was awesome for the whole AI space. I mean, to have that science be published publicly and support all of the community and all of the company, all of the scientific labs was great. And even when we launched the 7 billion parameter model and the mixture of experts model, we posted them online, open weight, wrote some of our findings, and even found some of in the DeepSeek paper, some of the citations being from Mistral. And so it was kind of pointing at each other, that everyone's supporting each other on some of these breakthroughs, which is really interesting. But maybe on the embeddings in vector question, I'll ask you.
Thank you.
The expert.
I mean, hardly an expert, please. That's giving me far too much credit. So I think there's a couple things I'd want to add to answer your question. For right now, and I think the foreseeable future, vectors are the way that machines describe their world and therefore how they describe our world. Maybe there's some brand new thing that I haven't seen yet, and I will welcome that when it comes. But I think right now, even inside of all these models and the newer architectures, and even from before Transformer, it was vectors that were used to kind of encode our world into something machines can reason with or can deal with, can pass around. So I think that's going to persist for quite a while. I think to your question, entering into kind of the physical AI world, what I would expect to see is much larger vectors, right? And if we go pre-Transformer, vectors have been around for a long time in like tens of dimensions or hundreds of dimensions, and it was basically ML and data science that was able to say, these are the 5 features that we are going to measure on, and those are the 5 dimensions that go into a vector. And now, fast forward, last year it was like, 1,000 dimensions is a really big number. We're seeing 3,000 and 4,000 dimensions already. If we have to describe the physical world, you're going to need way more than 4,000 elements to describe something. So getting into the tens of thousands of dimensions, which is a challenging computing problem, but you can see kind of a quick path to that. The other two things, and I'll try to be quick because of time. One is, we don't think vectors are the only thing that's necessary in this. They're a core part of it, but they don't do everything. And so what we see is kind of the combination of multiple retrieval mechanisms of vectors, dense, sparse, graph. Like there's all this. And then the last thing that's really interesting, and I won't dwell much on it, but right now, the connection between vectors and the data they represent and the models that we're giving them to is very, very loose, right? RAG is just a hack. And it's a good one. It works really well, but it's just a hack, right? What if we could actually have a model use a vector database to do inference, to run itself off of? And suddenly you get away, you essentially solve hallucinations because you're no longer letting the model use its own made-up vectors. You're giving it the ones you want it to use. And so that's still many years away, but I think could get quite interesting.
Phil,
Thank you.
Phil, do we have any online questions? Nothing at the moment. So we've got a final question now. I can see, just checking, it's been very male-dominated so far today, but anyway, if there's no questions from the ladies, over to you.
Yeah, I think I'll take it then. But I think there was a question online, but I think it was a while ago. So I think it was King Xerxes. He asked, can you ask about the trajectory and impact of wide-scale knowledge work automation? So I think that might be for Perry and Nick.
What was it? The wide-scale impact of
knowledge worker automation.
Yeah, trajectory and impact of wide-scale knowledge work automation. And then I've got a follow-up to that. So if you sort of zoom back out, it might be a bit of a philosophical question, but I was listening to a podcast earlier with I think is it Claude, one of the developers from Claude, and he said 5 years ago, if you gave them Sonnet 3.5, you would have said that's AGI there and then. But then now you can tell that because of the pace of innovation, it's still got quite a long way to go. So I wouldn't ask how long, because that's how long's a piece of string really. So, but I'd say in your opinions, how much progress do you think we've made, and how much is there still to go in terms of like I wouldn't say boundaries we have at the moment, but at the scale that we're going at the moment. So there's two questions there. So impact and scale of automation, wide-scale knowledge work automation, and then my philosophical one.
If you don't mind, because we're a bit short of time, could we do a quick fire answer from each person about how close we are to AGI? I think we'll have to get back to your other question during the networking. Yeah, maybe if each of you guys could just simply say what your perspective is on AGI, and you, Dala, as well. You know, it's such a big issue, really, and everybody's got a different opinion.
TLDRs, it's impossible to say. The goalposts keep moving, as you mentioned. We keep switching. There was a recent kind of paper, or I think that went kind of viral, or a post that was 2027 and doing timelines. Again, it's maybe more on the philosophical territory, and I think we're still trying to find that out. But I think it is interesting and maybe positive that we keep adapting and expecting what we use, and then constantly adapting and evolving with it. So I think getting used to these iterations and working towards it is really positive. And then AGI, yeah, it depends so much on the definition, and maybe it is positive that every time we hit a goalpost, we say, okay, but it can't hear things. Okay, but now it can't see things. Okay, but now you can't do X and Y and Z. And I think Jan LeCun, for example, said when a baby is born or 3 years old, it can already do so many motor tasks, it has a view of the world, and even when it's born and has had zero experience, already knows things about the world. And so if that's what we're comparing to, then yeah, I think it's positive that both the models have to improve, but so does our evaluations and what we mean and everything. And I think it's good to see that it's going in the same trajectory. But TLDR, it's a very hard question to answer. On the automation side, I think right now we're working a lot on empowerment and co-piloting, and I think that's worked wonders. I think on the creativity space, what's good is I'm no artist, but I've had to do a ton of websites pixel by pixel. I'm terrible at it. Took me way too long. And I think one of the powerful things I see is it allows me to iterate more and say, okay, this is the direction I want to go when I brainstorm and I try things out. I think we're going to see a lot more given the capabilities. But in short, I think we're still working on very specific things and iterating. I think it's still going to probably take a while. But yeah, I'd say it's a very hard question to answer.
I'm going to give Dala the final word, Dala.
Oh, I'm not sure I'm the person that should get the final word, and I'm not best. All right. Well, I'm not best placed to talk about the sort of technology, but what I would say from a creative point of view is that I think, you know, we're at a really exciting point, and for me, it is about this kind of intersection between technology, creativity, science, you know, data science, that will really sort of take us forward creatively. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. So that's my last word, Paul.
Yes, and sorry, the reason why I'm being so pushy is that you've now got 14 minutes, I think. Is that right, Les? 14 minutes? Just to stretch your legs, grab a drink, bring the drink back. We need to be back on time because we've got the lineup of all the people to do their individual presentations, and we need to keep that in time because some of the people are joining online. So, okay, 14 minutes. Thank you very much to the panel. It's been really great, and I'm glad you could join us. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody. All right, we'll soon be able to do some ideation and building and stuff like that, and have a few snacks and all the rest of it. But we're now at the speed talks, and each of the amazing partners that we've got are going to say a little bit about what they do and what they can offer the hackathon. So this is very important. So I'm first of all going to hand over to Kasia from Vultr, who's got some slides. Over to you.
Thank you. So I'm Kasia Kilborn, a product marketing manager at Vultr. Can I have the next slide? So we're very excited for the kickoff of HackXelerator AI today in London. We've been working hard behind the scenes with Paul and KXSB together to on to life. And big thank you to Paul and creatives together, and try to create a new project and see how those two worlds can work together. And we would like to, we're genuinely very excited to see the projects you guys gonna work on and see how that will come to life. And we presented that, categorized that into the 6 different avenues. We also know that you're putting a lot of your free time into it, your talent, your energy. So we would like to support and reward you for that and support the community through some prizes for the winning teams. So from Vultr, we will offer $150 of cash prize for the winning teams. Additionally, we will offer $500 of free credits on Vultr platform, which will help you to carry on with your project. We're really looking forward to see those projects in. And we're, of course, super proud to bring our partners and other sponsors on board to support this hackathon. And would like to say thank you to AMD, Pinecone, Hugging Face, Mistral AI, Luma AI, and 12 Labs. Next slide, please. I would like to say a few words about Vultr, explain who we are, what we do, etc. So Vultr is a cloud provider. We've got 11 years of operating history, and during that time, we became the largest privately held cloud computing platform. From the very beginning, our aim was to create a cloud provider with high-performance cloud compute that is accessible to anyone around the world, that is affordable and composable. We've got 32 data center regions around the world, and reaching out developers, businesses around the world between 2 to 40 milliseconds. Just recently, we also been called by IDC a major player in the Cloud Infrastructure Vendor Assessment Report, which we're super proud of that. Can I have the next slide? And just to explain, oh, one more before that. Just to oh, no. Anyway, so maybe I will go back and I just freestyle that bit. So just a little bit about what products we've got on offer for you, so you're kind of aware of range available at Vultr. So as I mentioned before, you've got access to high-performance cloud compute. We offer cloud GPU with an access to top-of-the-range NVIDIA and AMD GPUs. Bare metal, manage databases, also manage Kafka with Kafka Connect as an extension. Networking, high-performance networking, storage with object, that's all right. Storage with object, block, and file system. I think I cover all. If I forgot something, you can see more of the details on our website. Now I will move to the part when I explain the benefits. So if I can have the slides before. Why Vultr? So we've got access to the latest technologies. For example, the latest GPUs from NVIDIA and AMD. We offer white glove support for with onboarding and then support throughout. We're super easy to use, so you don't need to be certified to use Vultr. We also offer API-first approach for you to connect other technologies with our system. We have comprehensive help pages, help documentations with some learning paths, tech talks, etc. We have super affordable, so with predictive pricing. So for example, if you've got a spike of clients, you still know what will be your end bill of the end of the month. You also, we also can help you significantly save the cost based on the, compared to hyperscalers. And lastly, what I will say, lastly, what I will say, if we can go now to this slide, yes. Yes, let's stick with this one. So lastly, I will just explain that Vultr, the main kind of way of thinking is composable infrastructure. And what do I mean by that? With tools like containerization, Terraform's IPA first, we allow end users to choose the technologies they would like to use within their stack technology. So for any new project, you know that you can choose the newest technology or the project or the tech tools which you already tested and like to use it. And at the same time, you are not vendor locked in. So with that, I just would like to say thank you. I can have the last slide. Let's build creative AI together. So we've got 20 days now to kick off. So push the boundaries, be creative, try to test everything, and we can't wait to see you at the finish line in Station F in Paris. Thank you.
Yeah, well done to Kasia. That was pretty, pretty nimble in your approach to. I think next we got Chang from AMD.
Okay, hi guys, nice to meet you. I'm Chang from AMD. I'm a senior MTS from AMD now, and I'm mainly working on large language model benchmarking performance. And today I'm really great to be here to present the topic on how AMD GPUs can help with deploying generative AI models. And the topic of my presentation is advancing generative AI on AMD GPUs. Here is a brief agenda of my introduction. There will be 4 parts. In the end, there will be a prize and quiz session, and I'll ensure all the answers will be included in the introduction. And the top 5 attendees would win a small gift from AMD. Okay, let's get started. So on this slide, you can see one of the data center GPUs of AMD. It's MI300. So a quick question here. Anyone in this room has ever heard about this product before? If so, please raise up your hand. Okay. A lot less than I expected. Well, after this introduction, you may know more about MI300. So MI300 is a data center GPU created by AMD, aiming at accelerate workloads of HPC and generative AI and AI applications. And one of its key strengths is its large GPU memory. You can see there are 192 gigabytes of GPU memory on each MI300, which provides a lot of possibility to run larger generative AI on a single GPU. Besides, we can also run a DeepSeek v3 on 8 MI300 GPUs, which can save a lot of money of our users. Collaborated with our partner Vultr, we will provide AMD GPU-equipped instances for this hackathon. Participants can access to our resources according to the tutorial provided by Vultr later. In order to fully leverage the capacity of AMD GPUs, not only MI300, but also other GPUs of AMD Instinct series and also AMD Radeon series, we have developed a high-performance computing platform named as ROCm to explore the full potential of AMD GPUs. So AMD ROCm is an open software stack, includes libraries, compilers and tools, and runtime that enable GPU programming from low-level kernel to end-user applications. ROCm is an optimized toolkit for generative AI and HPC applications. And it is easy to migrate existing code into. You can say that ROCm is our CUDA. On top of ROCm, popular AI frameworks like PyTorch, TensorFlow are well supported. This means that orbit-level users like AI model developers don't have to know about what to do to adapt their models on AMD GPUs. The transition should be seamless, and there's no difference from the user experience perspective. So speaking of the developer community, we have deep collaboration with popular AI frameworks like PyTorch, TensorFlow, and we have supported their latest features since day 0. We also have a strong collaboration with Hugging Face, In fact, our AMD optimizer models have been downloaded over 1 million times when these slides were created. AMD closely follows the latest trends in generative AI, especially in large language models. One example is DeepSeek V3. We supported to run DeepSeek V3 on AMD GPUs since the first day, and we have also set up dedicated engineering teams to iteratively optimize the performance of running DeepSeek on our GPUs. Within 2 weeks, we optimized the performance in throughput with a 4 times increase on AMD GPUs. And now it's still being deployed and optimized, so the performance continues to be optimized until today. So now you may be interested in trying out AMD GPUs and run some experiments on them now, right? So with just a single command, you can easily set up an environment to deploy a large language model with a open source popular LLM serving engines such as SGLang, as shown on this command. And you can also use other LLM serving engines like VLLM by pulling their image Docker images. Once the environment is set up, you can use another one single command to start your LLM service. Once you launched your service successfully, you can verify it's working well by accessing the address. It's quite simple. So for further introduction and interaction demos, we would have a workshop online in the following days. And there will be 3 demos included. There are 0-day support for Hugging Face models on ROCm, Open Web UI, and VS Code extension with AI Toolkit. So on this page, you can scan the QR codes to access more resources of AMD GPUs and some introduction of our cloud service as well. Okay, now it's the exciting moment for today, prize and quiz session. So get ready with your phone cameras. Hang on a second. Sorry. Okay. Are you ready? So please scan the QR code on the left. There will be up to 50 participants for this quiz session. Okay, I guess it's ready, right? 31 players ready. Okay, I will wait for another 10 seconds. Okay, 3, 2, 1. What? Yeah, it's a bit slow, especially in the UK. So the page was originally created by my colleague in the US. So, okay, let's get started. Okay. Actually, I'm not sure whether you're gonna like the price. Okay. Okay. Rob, Adley, Dennis, Yusuf, Peter, you would win a rubber duck for debugging. Yay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks very much, Chang. And that was great fun. I'm sorry I didn't win a duck. So next on is, we're going online now. So we've got Prince from Luma AI.
All right, perfect. Hello, everyone. I'm Prince with Luma AI. I'm on the go-to-market team and super excited to be here. Thanks for putting this together. We're going to walk you through a little bit about what Luma AI is, what we do, and how we can help you all hack today. I'm going to share my presentation and get this started. All right, awesome. So Luma AI, we are a research and product company built to solve visual communication. We have next generation creator tools broken into 3 parts. Our first is our Dream Machine Enterprise SaaS. This enables you to do text to video. And then we also have the API, which I think most of you will be using today. Luma Photon is our image model, and Luma Ray is our video model. And we'll break them down with some videos to share what it looks like. So this is what Dream Machine looks like. It's an intuitive, all-in-one enterprise teammate. It includes both our best-in-class video and image generation models. It's on web and iOS. And let me give you a little preview of what it looks like.
It starts small, a spark. That what-if moment keeps you up at night. And you think, what if you could make it real? Not someday, today. Just start. Drop a thought. Watch it grow. Every idea, a plan in motion. You're not waiting for the perfect time. You're making it. Because dreams aren't meant to stay in your head. They're meant to be real. Introducing the new Dream Machine from Luma AI.
All right, and so what Dream Machine provides is smart context, deep creative control, and realistic 4K results. We have an auto generation feature, so with the videos, it will match sound to that, whether that's sparkling fire to waves crashing, hyperrealism, close-ups and lens texture, cinematic effects, contextual physics, early fusion at scale. And this is text to video, as well as image to video. We'll give you very specific examples on the next couple of slides. Here is Ray 2. This is our newest video model.
Let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream.
hopefully some of you are using Ray 2 today. I only have several minutes, so I will move forward on there. We have a lot of videos to show. As we mentioned, text to video. So simple language to be able to pull out whatever you want visually. We also have image to video. What's also unique about Luma is our consistent character reference. So you can build character references so you have continuity and consistency with your characters. Object consistency with keyframes. Here's some examples. If you're working on a brand project, you want to kind of share different variations. There's multimodal reasoning. So for example, on the bottom right here, you could see emotional effects. And on the left, you saw natural motion and reasoning in the physical world. Hyperrealism is also something we are pretty keen on. Camera angles is a pretty unique.
Introducing camera motion.
Control the camera with your command. Do it any way as you demand.
Move it, pull it, push it tight. Pan left, pan right, frame it just right.
With Dream Machine, create with ease. Direct the camera any way you please.
Available now for everyone. Welcome to the future.
We just recently rolled that out, so excited for some of you to possibly use that. Here's just a quick view of our navigation, very simple to use if you're using Dream Machine. We'll get into the API in a moment. Let me just move forward. We have a lot of slides here because there's a ton of features. Brainstorming if you're kind of running through a bunch of different ideas. Again, prompts, we have a prompt guide, so I'll definitely share that along at the end of the slide. We also have a learning hub, so if you want reference there. Community resources, we have a Discord, so if you have any questions while you're running through this. Also, too, I will be available to answer any questions throughout the next couple weeks. Right, so the ability here is to show an abundance of options before you start. And so whether that's rapid ideation and iteration, stylistic iterations, you can compare sets, locations, costume, camera angles, and mockups. Here's a foggy London location. And as you can see here, it pulls out the key parts of your prompt. Obviously, through the API, you can do this as well. Let me push forward through here. If you're building art direction, post-production assets, whether you're looking for atmospheric fog or a certain background. For commercial use, if you want to play with logos, different environments. Video ads for Morph. 2D and 3D mockups. If you're working on an e-commerce project, you could bring historical images to life. Again, as we mentioned, music. Here's an example, like on Spotify for background music. Album art. We have a fashion category here as well. So for anyone who's looking to work on anything in fashion. We're almost through these slides here, and I'm almost at the end of time. Real estate's another use case. This image right here was one picture, and we did a keyframe, and it pulled it in, and it kind of built the environment behind the wall. Another example. E-commerce. So we just took a picture of the video above, and then it filled out the rest on the bottom. Again, picture on the left created the extension on the right. Here's some more e-commerce shots. Took a video into the slow roll. Able to franchise products for category lines. Create unique concepts for a futuristic game show. We also have a gaming track in here, as I see, so this could help build style references for 2D worlds, realistic worlds. We want to create a sports or esports team. And of course, vaporwave, which we all love, and skins and characters. Social content. So here's a fun little selfie perspective. Of course, the Ghibli style is popular, so and that is mainly Dream Machine. The API, as I'll share in some of the documentation, is really easy to use. So if you do have any questions on onboarding that, please message. I also have all the guide for that. All participants will get $500 in credits for the API, and then we're providing $25,000 in prizes. To get access, I will share the link in the Discord, and just make a request, and then you need to sign up on the site, which I'll provide a link, and then we'll upgrade your tokens. But other than that, thank you all for having us. Super excited to see what you build, and talk to you soon.
Data into AI, and whether that is storing data that was generated by AI, taking some of the video or imagery, or trying to take data, text or images from the real world, and build applications that leverage it, right, and scope your AI projects down to an individual user's set of data or a particular domain. You need to store that data somewhere. You need to put it in a database and retrieve it, and that's what Pinecone is, right? So you can sign up at app.pinecone.io. We have a really generous free tier, kind of perpetually free tier. So we're not giving away any credits as part of this event, but because it's a free product, I encourage you to sign up and use it. I am definitely offering my own support, and we have another gentleman, Milen, in Poland, who's one of our developer advocates. He and I are going to sit in the Discord and offer our support, whether it's questions about Pinecone, the APIs, embedding models, best practices for dealing with data. Please either feel free to reach out, to raise your hand, or we'll be kind of perusing the projects and just offering assistance as you get into building. I think that's all I had to say. Next.
Yes, so I think the next presentation is online again, and I think we've got 12 labs. James.
And George and some of the folks at KXSB for inviting us to be part of this opportunity. Yeah, so just a couple of minutes, just walking over what 12 Lab does. So we brand ourselves as the world's most powerful video intelligence platform, and our focus is we believe that there's massive amount of video content in the world right now, and how do we both extract insight information from that video. So that's our company mission. So I think our vision is like video understanding is the most close resemblance of human eye understanding, because generally that people are moving to video, and our foundation models can see videos just like humans do. So the traditional approach of doing this has been focusing on computer vision, where you use specific models to extract text, metadata from the content itself. But as we move towards like the word embedding and foundation models, I think the ability to extract semantic understanding from video is pretty awesome. So this is some high-level mission about the company, and just a couple of paragraphs about our foundation models. So we build two video foundation models. The first one is called Marengo, which is a video encoder model that can extract embeddings from video, and the second is called Pegasus, which is a video language model that allows you to extract textual analysis from the video itself. So just switching to this slide right here, a little bit about our model. So this is the architecture of Marengo. So we accept, it's a multimodal models that can, get embeddings from video, audio, image, and text. And so technically you can perform like any-to-any embedding search, for instance. So we use the same model to enable two API product, search and embed, which I will talk in more details. So search is like, you put on a query and you can return the exact video clips that match your search query. So so very powerful text to video retrieval. And embedding is, we can, as for the more inclined developers audience, you can get raw embeddings from your video and text content, store them in maybe like a database, and perform interesting downstream tasks like curation, classification, retrieval organization, etc. And the second model is called Pegasus. So for this one, you basically come up with a prompt, put in your video content, and you can generate analysis like suggestions, captions, summaries, etc. from the video itself. So it's allow you to manipulate and understand your video content just like how you understand language. Just going back to here. So we have three API. Like I said, search is like for searching for the exact moment. Generate is generate text format, and embed is where you can get raw embeddings from the video itself. So I switched my screen into a live demo. So this is the playground interface of 12 apps. So just like how Perry mentioned about Pinecone, we also have a free tier. So anyone who interested in child 12 apps, you can just go to our main website and click into this button over here, the playground button, the screen account, and any new users will have up to 10 hours of video to play around with. So the idea here is going to bring your own video. You bring your own video content, and then you can do search analysis, etc. With your own video content. So let's show some examples for search, for instance. So this one here, listen for specific sound. So my query is beatboxer making drum sound, and these are all the top clips that we return. And you notice that you return the exact start and end time of this moment in this video. And this is another example. So the query here is comparing Rare Beauty products with others. About this one. Spider-Man flies through a street and catches a car with his web. So you can see you can do pretty fine-grained and complex search query, correct? So I'm going to switch to generate, which is the other API that we have. So let's try this example. So the video here is an ad product. And the prompt here is to give an analysis of how the ad is visual expression conveyed in the message. How about this one? It's the scene from the trailer from the Joker. And this is the query. What other movies would you recommend to watch? And then this one's actually pretty timely. The Shining, right? And the question here is, what kind of filming techniques will you use in this video? So yeah, the idea here is you can like interact, ask question about the video, get summaries, and allows you to get a lot more analysis, powerful analysis out of your video content. So yeah, when you join the playground, you can bring your own video, create your own index, and play around with it. I also want to quickly share one very early product that we've been working on called Jockey. That this is still in private alpha, not ready yet, but want to do a quick demo here because the audience here, I'm sure, like super excited about new technologies. So this is a video agent that combine the two models that we've been building in-house. So for example, you can do like, you can drag and drop the video into the chat box and do you can do things like multi-video question answering, for instance. Let's say summarize this video. Yeah, and Jockey will be able to get the summaries for each of these three videos. So let me take a look. All right, so woman and research side. Okay, so now I got 5 good understanding of this video. I can 5 clips, 3 clips. Yeah. And you can edit them into a single highlight. Yeah, so the idea here is that you can, given a massive amount of video corpus, you can quickly find what you need and then get a powerful, like, hilarious out of it. Yeah, so that's all I have for 12 Labs. And regarding the hackathon and the prize, I think the winning team will get up to 150 hours of video credit in 12 Labs, which translate into about $450 in cash. Yeah, so yeah, excited to see the project that you can build. And like Perry mentioned in the previous talk, we'll have a 30-minute session on Thursday. I think London afternoon time, where we share more details on how our embeddings model work and how our solution can enable different use cases. Thanks everyone.
From Nick Mistral. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks for holding up, everyone, and great to see you again. I'm Nick, Solutions Architect at Mistral, and yeah, thanks so much for having us be part of this. If you don't know Mistral, we're the leading AI foundational LLM out of Europe. What we do is our mission is to bring frontier AI into your hands and bring configurable AI in your hands. That means that we have a variety of models. Some of them are completely open source so that you can use them for pretty much anything you want, and it's open to the community. We have other ones that are commercial models that you can access through our API, etc. But part of Mistral's mission is really to make AI as open as we can, as configurable and usable as we can for builders like yourselves. And I love going to hackathons. I think this is maybe the 16th one or something, and we speak about creativity. There's a lot of creativity that goes into creating the models. There's a ton more creativity that actually comes from the application of those. So seeing the ways that people actually use AI, especially in hackathons. I think one of the panel questions was, what are creative things that you see? There's plenty in enterprise. There's so much, I don't know if to say more, that happens in hackathons. It's really cool to see. So I'm really excited to see what you all come up with. So yeah, a bit about our mission. I think where we differentiate particularly is the customizability of our models. You can fine tune our models. They're open weight, a lot of them, so you really have almost full control environment and have sovereign AI. We also now really deeply engage into the solutioning part, etc. We used to be just a models company. We now also have software and chat services, and also have more customized partners. And the last one is really efficiency, and we believe also through choice. So I'll show you another slide. It's been amazing in something like a year and a half, the amount of models that the science team has been able to create. There's a lot of creativity that goes behind that. Part of the real focus as well is right-sizing a model for your task, so you don't have to have this ginormous model if you really need it for something specific. And we believe that gives a lot of powers to builders. So we've launched a lot of different models. I'll do a little bit of a snippet on some of them so you can understand if that might be useful for your use case, if other ones might not be so. But our leading model is Mistral Large. It's up there in the benchmarks with some of the top providers. You can access it through our API. We have also a multimodal model. I'll speak a little bit more in a second. It can take both images and text in a variety of different ways. So it has eyes, apart from just being a traditional text-to-text LLM. We have coding-specific models like CodeStroll. We have some of the best edge models in the world. I've actually worked with some clients to deploy these edge models on devices, and it's really interesting the things you can do. So that is tasks and do so efficiently, so you can do it basically wherever you need to use that model. And I think some of the questions before were, what kind of architectures have you explored? We have Mamba architecture models, math-specific models, smaller vision, a model that we did in partnership with NVIDIA. So we've done a ton, the science team has done a ton of research, and part of this is to give you choice as an end user, where you need to use edge models, specialized models, you name it. We want to really empower you to use the best model for your use case. And this hackathon is a particular focus on multimodal. So we have a multimodal model, Mistral Large. This came out just before Christmas. It's one of the leading vision models. You can feed it images and text, and a variety of images and text, and it can reason on those images. So we've seen this in previous hackathons being used for a ton of really interesting use cases. Previously, we didn't have a free plan. I'll explain that in a second, which means I had to provision API keys for everyone, and everyone was hitting the rate limit. We now have a free plan, so it's easier, and you can go and test it a lot more. But it really is one of the most powerful multimodal vision models. And what makes it just so exciting, maybe a bit under the hood, is last summer, the science team said, we only can take text as input, but what about images, and how does that work with images? And so text gets translated to tokens in the language that the models understand. How does images get translated into tokens? So how it works under the hood is every 16 by 16 pixel square is converted into a token. What this means is that traditionally you can only send one image at a time in one resolution, etc. Now it means for the model, it gets all translated to the same language. So you can send an image, then text, then an image, then a text, and all in the same single model. So this, on the science level, kind of baffled me, but is a really interesting feature. And it means that you can do multimodal reasoning very interestingly. We've seen a ton of different use cases. I've mentioned from spotting, for example, from live cams of firefighters, whether fire was breaking out or in London Parliament. Really, sky's the limit in terms of your creativity of what applications you may use the multimodal models. And this Mistral small model, which you can host on your laptop, has multimodal capabilities. We released it 2 weeks ago, and it's one of the best in class for its size, and it does have that vision capability. So it's pretty remarkable. It used to be not many powerful vision models could be hosted on your laptop or other in other environments, and this is one of the leading ones for its size. Along that, I'm not sure if I'd call this the most creative model, but please challenge me if so. We also launched an OCR model. It's a really specific model for document understanding. It's very tiny and specialized, and so you can feed tons of different documents, and it will parse it exactly. I spent 3 years before this in a startup manually parsing PDFs and reports, so I understand this pain, but if you need this for any specific project and apply your own creativity to this, I'd love to see it. So how do you access this? We do have a free plan. So if you go to our console, so La Platform, appropriately named in French, the company is based out of France, you can go to console.mistral.ai and go to settings subscription plan free. We'll send these slides after. And we have a free plan, which means you no longer have to ask me to update your rate limit. You can. And we also, as part of the hackathon prizes, we'll be giving, I believe it's multiple locations for the hackathon, $1,000 in Mistral credits per winner of the different locations. So if you do want to do what I mentioned, some of the other hackathons we're doing of sending a whole video through, maybe those credits will allow you to do that a bit better. And you can also use the Mistral models for a bunch of different use cases. I've put some examples here, but this is a demo I built where you can use it for agentic use cases. We speak about multimodal as in the model itself, but what's interesting is because the models can output code, that code can be used for a ton of different things. So here I'm feeding a prompt in to say, here's a table, plot these things. And because it outputs code, I can run that code. And code can also have a lot of modalities. So it created a chart, it can start to do actions. Multimodal exists within the model, but because you can output code, there's also a lot of different artificial modalities that you can start to add to it, which can be really interesting. And that's a bit about the models. We also have a chat interface. We've had this for over a year. We launched the app a few months ago. It became the #1 within the French and a couple of in some of the European app stores. I do encourage you to try it. Going to chat.mistral.ai. It's got a lot of really advanced tools. We also have very fast inference, so you can try it and it will spit some of your responses out at 1,000 tokens a second. So it's lightning fast. And there also is image generation capabilities. So because this is multimodal, I wanted to give a fun example I've seen in some other places. But Le Chat is a play on words. It means cat in French. It's also a play on chat. And so I asked Le Chat to create a cartoon picture of a cat. And I've seen some of these threads online, but I said, this doesn't represent Le Chat very well. I want a better cat. I want it to be the best in the world. So I said, this is not the best cat. Make it the best cat in the world. And it starts to be able to work with some of the prompts that you did. And I said, this is still not good enough. I want the best cat in the universe. And so this is what it came up with. But this is just a bit of a fun one. I do prompt you to try Le Chat. Image generation is available through there. It's not currently on our API in our models, though. But I do prompt you to try it out. We also have some no-code agentic capabilities if you're interested. So yeah, I prompt you to try our models. There's that free plan. You can also use Le Chat. And the only other thing to mention is a bit of a plug is we're a small London team. I'm the only one in the solutions team. So I go around hackathons as well and getting and encouraging a lot of developers. But we're hiring for a bunch of roles. If interested, here's a link and come talk to us. But thank you so much. And really, the creativity comes from everything that you build. I'm very excited to see what you come up with. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Hi guys. So that's the end of the partner presentations. They were very good, and hopefully you'll feel there's lots of really great new toys to play with. So I think we're now entering into that period of time.
I don't want to forget about Hugging Face. So Hugging Face weren't able to send anybody to London. But they are offering Hugging Face Spaces Pro subscription to every participant. So all you need to do to get that is you need to go and apply to join the KXSB organization on Hugging Face, and it will be assigned to you automatically.
So we're very aware that I think Chang, you've got a little workshop as well, haven't you? Is that right? Optional, yeah, optional. So you don't seem very sure. But anyway, what we're going to do to handle that situation, we are going to break out for now. So I think we're going to start the ideation process and the building. Hopefully, you'll get building, and we'll do a quick poll to see who wants to attend the later session with Chang. Which we can sort of hive off slightly. But I think what we want to do now is we want to get you ideating and building, and George is going to say a quick few words about that.
Yeah, I mean, reach out if there's any challenges to get started, or anything you want to access or want to know more about. But I think we've touched on all the topics. All systems go, right?
And we've got room to spread out. So yeah, if you want to find a little bit of extra space, it's just through there. We can tell you when you've gone too far, but there's a line which you cannot cross. So grab yourself snacks and drinks or whatever. Get yourselves into your little teams or find partners. Talk to each other, and yeah, enjoy. And then we're going to be out there. We'll have something a little bit like a clinic so just find us really. And we've got places where we can talk to you about stuff if you want to do that. And I think we're going to take a few interviews as well, aren't we?
Yeah, there will also be online people that are dying to present their ideas and projects, so we'll figure out where we can display that. So that's also on the agenda.